break into the room because we couldn't find the keys. But that's an exciting start to the day, which means things will go smoothly from now. Um, we we are just hoping people who are having breakfast will come in, but we'll hopefully start in a minute. I'll just cut. 9:30 होएगा फास्ट yeah incoming you can use this ये blank है so as a way of introduction, my name is Sneha Krishnan. I'm a faculty at Jindal School of Public Health and Human Development. We have a big day today. There are subsequent panels, and I hope you all will bear with us as we are delayed by almost 20 minutes. We have a very exciting set of speakers with us. It's actually a huge honor to me that it's actually a privilege to be working with friends. So I'm so happy that we can make important change with people whom we can agree, disagree, who think like us, but who also have very different life experiences than us. And especially when you go a long way, I have worked with Suchitra in the past since 2016, and also Sumitra and Jadu. Please, it's only my affection which allows me to call them fondly with their first names. But I have huge respect for all the speakers who are here, and I think this will be an important opportunity for all of us to learn from their works and to understand their perspectives about the issues of climate change, planetary health, and understanding Indigenous voices and creating platforms for them to have their own voices heard. Just as a very brief explanation, the climate change and planetary health is what I call as wicked problems. They seem like very conceptual level issues, but when you look at how it intersects human lives, the impacts actually are different and diverse and actually quite plural in how it impacts them. And instead of looking at frameworks, instead of looking at policies and international guidelines on how to implement programs, it is actually quite important to look at bottom-up approaches, to look at how lives are impacted and what needs are to be prioritized at community level, at regional level, because the needs vary everywhere. And it's also important to then theorize about these marginalized lives and understand and build upon knowledges and theories which have been included in our constitution, discussions that we have had yesterday. And so this particular panel bridges practice, pedagogy, and different approaches with theory on looking at how Indigenous lives are impacted by these important issues. I will not take much time, but I would actually introduce the speakers who are here with us as they speak. We will first begin with Sumitra Didi. She comes from Jharkhand and belongs to Ho tribe. And her own individual journey is so inspiring. I have seen her work with communities and draw so much inspiration from how she interacts with love and affection. She never scolds even the adolescent boys and girls that we have worked together with. And her own journey, which she will herself narrate, is quite important for us to draw inspiration from because she has worked with Ekjut for more than 15 years. Yeah? and the importance of having and learning, co-learning and co-designing interventions is something that I have learned from her myself. I will let Sumitra Didi take over from here, and I'll try and summarize as she finishes speaking. Thank you, Didi. आप बस आपके बारे में introduction दे रही थी.
आप सबों को मेरा ओर से जुआर। आप सबों को मेरी ओर से जुआर। मेरा नाम सुमित्रा गगराई है और मैं झारखंड जिले पश्चिमी सिंहभूम से हूँ। मैं आदिवासी हो समुदाय से आती हूँ। हमारा समाज हो समाज प्रकृति का पूजन करती है और हमारा जो पूजा स्थल होता है ये आदिंग होता है। आदिंग मतलब रसोई घर जिसमें खाना बनाते हैं और हम पूर्वजों को याद करते हुए उनकी पूजा करते हैं। 15 साल हो गए हैं हम एकजुट से जुड़े हुए हैं और जब मैं एकजुट के साथ जुड़ी उस समय मेरा पढ़ाई जो था, मैं सिर्फ 9 क्लास में पढ़ाई की थी, वहाँ तक पढ़ाई हुआ था और हम अपना पसंद से शादी किए और हम लोगों का वहाँ भाग के शादी करना इस जो है लव मैरिज उसको मान्यता मिलता है समुदाय से। और जब मैं शादी हो करके आई तो हमारा घरेलू स्थिति उतना सही नहीं थी। कई दिक्कतों का सामना करना पड़ा और मैं उसी दौरान एकजुट से जुड़ी। काम के साथ ही मैं सोची कि हमको आगे पढ़ाई जारी रखना है और फिर मैं मैट्रिक, इंटर और ग्रेजुएशन का अपने हो भाषा में पढ़ाई की। फिर सोचे कि हमको और थोड़ा पढ़ाई करना है, फिर इग्नू ज्वाइन की। वहाँ से सोशल वर्क MSW में हम अपना नामांकन कराया और वहाँ अपना पढ़ाई पूरी की। इस तरह से जब मैं काम में रही तो उस दौरान भी हमारे साथ कई समस्याएं आई। कई तरह के लोग बोलने लगे कि अरे देखो अब काम करने जा रही है, स्कूटी में जाती है, साड़ी छोड़ दी है, ड्रेस पहन के जाती है, शाम को लौटती है, चरित्रहीन हो गई है। इस तरह से कई तरह का हमको झेलना पड़ा, लेकिन मैं आगे बढ़ती रही और मेरे जो बहुत सारे शौक़ थे जैसे कि लोगों से मिलना, घूमना, ये सारा पसंद था। और मैं एकजुट में रह के जितने भी सारे प्रोग्राम हुए हैं, गर्भवती माँ से लेकर नवजात शिशु के स्वास्थ्य, पोषण, लिंग आधारित हिंसा और मानसिक स्वास्थ्य में पिछले 5 सालों से मैं काम कर रही हूँ। और जब इसको गांव में हम लोग बताते हैं तो उनको एक कहानी के माध्यम से, तो हम बहुत सारा कहानी भी अपने लिखी हूँ और जब कहानी बताते हैं तो हम लोग उनको एक पिक्चर कार्ड के माध्यम से लाइन ड्राइंग करती हूँ बहुत अच्छा से, उसको दिखा के मैं गांव में उनको बताती हूँ। तो इस तरह से काम में बढ़ती गई और हमारे संस्था एकजुट के सहयोगी बहुत हमको सपोर्ट किए। अपने जो गांव लेवल के जो फैसिलिटेटर है उनको तो मैं ट्रेनिंग देती हूँ, साथ ही ऐसे मौका मिला जो ज़िले स्तर में कई ज़िलों में जाकर के भी मैंने ट्रेनिंग दिया। और यही मौका के कारण पिछले 2021-22 में उत्तराखंड के लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जो है एकेडमिक, वहाँ पर IPS ऑफिसर लोगों का भी ट्रेनिंग दे पाई। और इस तरह से मैं आगे बढ़ती रही और आज मैं यहाँ आप लोगों के बीच में भी हूँ। जैसे कि एक गांव की छोटी सी गांव की सुमित्रा से लेकर के एकजुट की दीदी बनी और 2020 में हमको एक अवार्ड भी मिला CII फाउंडेशन के थ्रू, और इस तरह से एग्जाम्पलर के रूप में भी जानी जा रही हूँ। हमको बहुत खुशी मिलता है कि हमको एक अपना ही समुदाय के साथ में रह के काम करने का मौका मिला। मैं एक गाना आप लोगों के बीच में गाना चाहती हूँ, और ये गाना हो भाषा में है, मैं उसका अर्थ भी बताऊंगी। तो माइक नहीं, अच्छा इधर से
माइक है, मैं पहले ट्रांसलेट कर दूँ, उसके बाद गाएंगे, चलेगा? So quickly to summarize, I am so happy to hear Sumitra. She talks about her journey of how she has been working with Ekjut for more than 15 years. She says that when she had joined Ekjut, she had just passed 9th standard. And then she goes on to tell us that she married very young, and she married out of choice. In her community, it's not a problem. People still accepted her, but despite that, she faced a lot of challenges. She wanted to study, she continued to work with Ekjut, so purely by her determination, she cleared her 10th standard, she completed her graduation, and then she went on to do her master's in social work from IGNOU. She says that she faced a lot of challenges from the community as well, because she started going out a lot. She would not wear sari every day anymore, and she would ride a scooty to go to work and go to different villages. So people started saying that she's lost her character, mostly in a very judgmental way. But she continued despite all that. She loved to meet new people, she loved to talk to people, and through Ekjut, she started working on issues related to sexual violence, domestic violence, gender-based violence, different issues that emerged. And in the last 5 years, she's been working on these issues as well as mental health issues in her communities and across different districts in Jharkhand. She says that when she works with communities, she likes to tell her own stories, and she's written quite a few of her own stories from her personal journey, and she likes to narrate these stories through drawing. So she's found it to be a very powerful way to talk to people through line drawings. And she says that she received a lot of support from her colleagues at Ekjut. So she would not only train community facilitators, she was doing that for a long time, but she also started working in different districts and working with officials. And in 2021-22, she had the opportunity to represent Ekjut in Uttarakhand's Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, which is an institute where IPS officers who just pass out, they are trained. All the UPSC cadets through IAS, IPS, all forestry services, all of them get trained there. So she says that from a small village, Sumitra, she became Ekjut's Didi, and now she also, in 2021, she received CII Foundation's award as an exemplar leader. So she's quite honored that she's able to tell this journey of hers. And now she would like to present a song to us. So we'll join if anyone knows the song. And she'll also explain if I missed it.
Actually, Sumitra, I'll just add 2 points. Like you were mentioning about the CII, so Configuration of Indian Industries, they acknowledge grassroots women who work on different issues, and the selection process is very rigorous. And Sumitra got the Women Exemplar Award in 2021, which is a very prestigious award in India. And the training that she was mentioning, like Ekjut has been invited since this is the 5th year. So it has been that after the UPSC results are out, when the officer trainees they join, it ranges from say 450 to 620, 25. This time it's almost 632 officer trainees joining the academy where they are trained, and Ekjut is invited for conducting a foundation course on the field research program. they have a village study where they visit the village for 7 days and they interact on various issues using the short-term PLA tools, earlier known as the participatory rural appraisal tools. Now it has been, it is used synonymously. So we call it short-term PLA tools because it does not end with action, but remains as on the micro-planning level. So we are invited for that. And Sumitra last year was a part of that training. So she feels happy that she trained the officer trainees, who are the bureaucrats, the administrators. So, yeah.
To learn how to talk to communities.
Yeah. To learn how to interact with the community. Over to you, Sumitra.
कई शौकों के बीच मेरा स्टेज में उठ के बोलना, भाषण देना, ये सब भी मेरा शौक़ है, तो इसीलिए मैं खड़े होकर के गाना चाहती हूँ और हो में है वो भाषा में बताऊंगी. बुरु कोते गिराव का नागाड़ा कोते बकाये के ने बुरु कोते गिरावे का नागाड़ा कोते बेरिया काना निमिने बुगिन दिसु मेरे बुजो नुमाका सोना कोते पेरिया काना हीरे मोती ते सजावा काना निमिने बुगिन बाराते दिसुम डबो जोनो मकान. ये गाने का बोल है. बुरु मतलब जंगल, गाड़ा मतलब नदी, दिसुम मतलब हमारा देश. तो इतना सुंदर पहाड़ों से, नदियों से गिरा हुआ देश में हमारा जन्म हुआ है. सोना से लदा हुआ है, भरा पड़ा हुआ, हीरा मोती से सजा हुआ है. इतना सुंदर भारत देश में हमारा जन्म हुआ है. ये गाने का बोल था. और मैं तो बहुत कहानियाँ लिखती हूँ, लेकिन उस तरह का कहानी नहीं है. बचपन में दादी हमको बहुत सारा कहानी सुनाया करती थी, जैसे कि पहाड़ों, नदियों, जीव जंतुओं की कहानी होती थी. शेर, कौआ, चिड़िया, उनका कहानी था. लेकिन अभी कहानी उस तरह की कहानी नहीं होती है. हम लोग एकदम परिवारन से जो जुड़ाव था पहले, हमारा जुड़ाव कहीं ना कहीं ख़त्म सा हो गया है. कहानियाँ ख़त्म हो गई है. अभी बच्चे बच्चियाँ जो है मोबाइल दे देते हैं, वहाँ पर कार्टून देखना शुरू करते हैं. माँ लोगों के पास समय ही नहीं होता है. तो हमें सब मिल कर के उसके बारे में भी सोचना है कि हम अपना परिवारन को कैसे बनाए रखेंगे. और मेरी 3 बेटियां हैं और मैं अकेले उनका भरण पोषण पढ़ाई कराती हूँ. और वो भी मेरे तरह हम चाहते हैं कि वो हमसे अच्छा पढ़ाई कर ले, और इसलिए बढ़ चढ़ के कहीं भी वो प्रोग्राम में उनको पूरा आज़ादी दी हूँ, वो कर सकती हैं. तो मेरी 2 बेटियां हैं जो ताइक्वांडो करती है और राज्य स्तर में भी भाग लेती हैं. और तीनों बेटियां मेरी तरह बहुत कहानियाँ लिखती भी हैं और ड्राइंग भी बनाती हैं. तो इस तरह से आज मैं एक आदिवासी समुदाय की एक आवाज़ हूँ जो आप लोगों के समझ रख पा रही हूँ, और हम लोग आगे विचार कर सकते हैं इस पर. और साथ ही मैं यहाँ सनिया दीदी और हमारे जो यहाँ आने के लिए जो हमें आमंत्रित मिला है, उन सबों को मैं धन्यवाद दूंगी. और साथ ही मैं एकजुट को भी धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगी कि हमें यहाँ तक पहुँचाने में उनका भी सहयोग रहा है. सबको वित्तीयम मने धन्यवाद. थैंक यू. जोहार.
Thank you, Sumitra Didi. She summarized after the song saying that she grew up listening to stories about the environment, about crows and CR क्या है? Leopard नहीं. Fox. Crows and foxes. But slowly she finds that in the newer generation, children are more engaged on the phones. So there is no way of passing on these stories. So as a way, she is saying that I'm a woman from belonging to the Adivasi community, and I'm presenting some of the challenges that I see is happening these days. And she definitely wants to thank the support that she has received from Ekjut, and is looking forward to the discussion today. Thank you so much. I will quickly introduce my dear friend Suchitra Rath. I am supposed to read out her bio, but I can definitely say that whatever I have learned about health and working with communities, I owe a lot to Suchitra. It seems like we can even complete each other's sentences. The ideas that sometimes we have of working with communities, definitely she does much more than I do, but it has somehow made us in sync and has only made our learning, our own individual journeys quite strong. We did a small project on photo voice with adolescent boys and girls in Singhbhum, West Singhbhum in Jharkhand, and it was the most difficult project to carry out, and they have run randomized control trials, but we learned so much about following ethics in working with adolescent boys and girls, especially when you give them a camera and ask them to take pictures of their own communities. So we have not only learned from the communities with each other, but I wanted to highlight that having these relationships with people with whom we work, with people with whom we engage, is also as important, because we also need to care for ourselves and for people with whom we engage in. And I have learned much more through this relationship than I would have ever learned from my teachers or my superiors sometimes. So over to you, Suchitra.
Okay, thank you, Sneha. Good morning, Johar. So, Johar is the word used for greeting, saying namaste in Jharkhand. So basically, I am from Bhubaneswar, Odisha, but my workplace is Jharkhand. So I stay in Jharkhand. Mm, and thank you, Sneha, for giving us this opportunity, both of us, for coming and speaking about our work, about our experience of working with the indigenous communities over, more than 20 decades. Um, and thank you. 2 decades, sorry, 20 years, so more than 2 decades. But the experience that we and our team has now, it's immense. And now we can't say that we understand the community pulse, but we are in that process of that what is the thing that they would like? How would they react? So we have that experience, in engaging with that community. So apart from that, yeah, thank you for inviting us and giving us this opportunity. Whoever are, engaged in this planning, organizing, and giving and making our stay. And yesterday we arrived, and the way we were greeted and the way we were, pampered with Sneha food and all. So thank you for that. And I know that yesterday we didn't use any presentations because I have some data to show. I can speak, I have just few slides. If you don't mind, we can use those. Otherwise, if you are comfortable only listening to, then I can do that as well. But it's, I'm from Ekjut, and let me briefly take this opportunity also to introduce Ekjut briefly. That Ekjut means togetherness in multiple Indian languages, and we work on the themes of survive, thrive, and transform for addressing maternal and child health and nutrition issues in most underserved and marginalized communities using principles of participatory learning and action, and not only the intervention but also building evidence, so that no, it is community-based interventions are important, and what are the impact of those community interventions, so that we could advocate for its scale up and sustainability. And Ekjut stands for addressing health inequities. It stands on 3 pillars of capacity building, tracking change, and advocacy. So yesterday, one of our speaker was mentioning that who are we to empower people? It's better that we create an environment where the people themselves feel empowered. And I think the capacity building process, which Ekjut uses, the participatory learning and action approach, in my subsequent slides I'll be discussing about that. So it creates a platform for the community, to share what is their problem. How can what are the strategies that they could implement to address those problems? So it's that the platform or that enabling environment which is created, and where community is at the center. And obviously we are involved in research, in doing randomized controlled trials, exploratory studies, for building evidence and then advocating using those evidence. And all those evidence are published. While I go through, I'll be mentioning about the different publications that we have in high impact journal. And like I mentioned, we in Ekjut, we work on different themes. And the themes, it affects the community, the adolescent, women, children across the life cycle. So if you can look at the picture, it starts with say neonatal period, then moving on to early childhood, then adolescence. What are the issues that affect the women and girls during their reproductive years, and why nutrition is also important, and pregnancy and lactation also we need to focus on nutrition. So what the issues which affects the women and girls across the life cycle, and we use the participatory learning and action approach. I mentioned about the survive, thrive, and transform. So what does that term mean? So for the survive, it's ensuring the interventions that ensures the survival of newborn, so that they are born healthy. So it comes under the theme of survive. So if we look at our journey, first, when we did way back in 2005 to 8, we did interventions with almost 244 groups in 3 districts of 2 districts in Jharkhand and 1 in Odisha. So, and there we used this approach, and we did the objective behind was to prove PLA as the proof of concept, whether it has any impact or not. And then the results were, I'll show in my slide, and the results were published in high impact journal, The Lancet, and it's the ultimate, is what is known in the research community. After being published, and then we got the Trial of the Year award by the Society of Clinical Trials in year 2010-11, and my boss, she doesn't think, but Dr. Nirmala Nair and Dr. Prashant Tripathi, they are the mentor and founder of Ekjut. So when they went to Canada to receive the award, David Sackett, who is the father of family medicine, he said while giving the award, this is the first trial, and the results are outstanding. It's a simply dumbfounded intervention, is what he had mentioned while handing over this award. And then we scaled up PLA in Madhya Pradesh. So now PLA, and we received the Public Health Champion Award. I'm mentioning about this, that why evidence is also important. You can't work in silos. You need to plan the intervention well along with the community for whom it is designed for, and then creating evidence and publishing. so that different rounds and rounds of presentations we had made to convince the government, the state government of Jharkhand, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan. So these are the places where the intervention is being going on through the community health workers or the ashas, who are, they in the roles and responsibilities of ashas, there is one mandatory meeting that they need to conduct. So we tap that resource, and they are conducting using the incentives from the government. So they are being paid from the state, the National Health Mission. Coming to Thrive. So Thrive, after the newborn is born and born healthy and survived. So nutrition is also important. Nutrition and growth and development. We all understand that ECD, early childhood development during the early years, is very important. So it's not only better health, but good nutrition and stimulation, giving them opportunities for early learning. So that and all our interventions focused on the Thrive theme, which creates an enabling helps the community to create an enabling environment for thriving and blossoming like flower. So so the interventions are mostly focused on nutrition, and this has also been scaled up, and the interventions in running currently in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, and Uttarakhand. We are also involved in a trial, in a evaluation study in Jharkhand, trying to understand the effect of participatory learning and action approach, but through meetings conducted by the ashas on wasting. And after then expanding this enabling environment for a better future is what comes under the transform theme. Basically, adolescents and young people are the age category who comes under these interventions. Apart from that, addressing other issues like gender-based violence, mental health are all under the transform. So it becomes easier for us when we communicate, because it's a range of diverse issues. And these are all important for building a climate resilient ecosystem. So now coming to the, it's not a magic bullet though, because this approach is very close to my heart, and here the community, the participatory learning and action approach is not a traditional like top-down or linear behavior change approach, but it's a bottom-up approach where the village women, they are the planners, they are the implementers, they find their problems, they find their solutions, and they find their strategies for addressing these problems. And these are done through monthly participatory meetings, monthly participatory meetings, which are in 3 phases, 4 phases of the PLA cycle. Photos bhi nahi aa rahe. Acha, chhodo. I'll just click. Kuch dikkat hai. So these 4 phases are the hallmark of the participatory learning and action interventions. And in each phase, there are certain number of meetings. Like for the first phase, the meetings enable the community, enables the participants who attend the meetings conducted by a local female facilitator. She could be an ASHA, she could be preferably female, but we also have experience of male conducting these meetings. And when we were working with the adolescents, then we had both female and male youth facilitators. So in the phase 1, and in every phases, adult learning principles methods are used to enable them, like 6 pebble game, like use of picture cards, storytelling. If you look at the phase 2 where they plan strategies, can you see where it's written identify strategy, bridge game? Yeah, it's yeah, near Ekjut. the bottom right picture. So this is a game which is played by the community where they decide, they make decisions that how do they want to see their village. From this ill health, that one side of the river, a river flows and a bridge is built. One side of the river is the current situation where they are in, where there are many problems. And the other side of the river bank is their future, where they would like to be. And the smaller, the sticks represents the strength they have as a community who would help them while they implement the strategies. And the shorter planks which are kept are the strategies which the community prioritize to ensure that the problems could be addressed. So this is a really interesting game where the community decide how do they want to see their village. And after that, in the phase 3, they discuss all the problems that did not get prioritized in phase 1, and also learn about other strategies which would strengthen or how they could address. And another thing that every meeting, like in a village, roughly for optimum coverage, it's 500 population, one PLA group for 500 population. And it's not that all the people, they come in each meeting. So what, after say 7-8 meetings, then the participants who attend regularly, they disseminate their learnings to the wider community. They seek support from the community that it's together we can address this problem. Like in this village, we are not 20 to 25 people, but rather we are some 200, 300 people. So for seeking support from the community, they conduct this community meeting. And the facilitator is preferably a local female who is selected based on the criteria shared from the community itself. So this is all about the approach that we use. These are some pointers that why participatory learning and action is effective, because the participants who attend the meeting, they feel they have the ownership of the whole process, because from the very beginning they are involved. And it supports open communications between the participants and the facilitators. Participants can pose questions. Participants are involved in the whole process, be it planning, designing, execution, and evaluation. In the earlier, the 4th phase is about evaluation, where the meeting participants, they evaluate it together. It's not the scientific evaluation, but it's the group evaluation, participatory evaluation by the groups, where they decide what went well, what didn't go well, what are the strategies that they would like to take forward. So, and participants contribute actively. The methods that are used, it's acceptable to them, and they interact, and language is not a barrier while during these interactions. And process is developed according to the expectations of the participants, and it's basically a problem solving and learning by doing approach. Let us look at the impact. So way back in 2005 and 8, 3 years of interventions is just, the red lines is the intervention area. We found a 32% reduction in the 3 years of intervention in neonatal mortality rate. And in the last year, we found almost 45% reduction. And, sorry. अरे ये क्या हो गया? Sorry. यार ऊपर नीचे हो गया. And because this was a randomized control trial, there was a control areas. For ethical reason, we also moved to control and use the same meetings for intervention in the control areas. And there we found, in 1 year of the intervention, we found a 31% reduction. And this is why, in the first trial, we were learning. And in the second, when we expanded to the control areas, there this learning helped and the lag period was reduced. We could club few meetings, because when you're learning, you take a longer time understanding the process, understanding what the impact is coming. And this result has been published in the Lancet. And another thing, when we present this, people ask us about the sustainability factor. So when you move after 3 years or 4 years, so what is the sustainability factor? Whether they go back to the same position. And if you could look at the red lines, and the discussions were happening on women health issues. But you can see that the mortality did not increase, but it remained the same. I need a and recently we completed a large, randomized control trial in the state of Jharkhand, where we found almost 24% reduction in neonatal mortality rate. And when we use the segregated data for understanding, the impact on the marginalized communities. By marginalization means unable to read, landless, assetless, and belonging to a tribal community. There we found 26% reduction. And if we in all our trials, we see a large population, the universal study population. Then from that, we also, building an equity lens, we see the impact of these interventions on the most marginalized people. And in all the three trials, if you could see, in the first one, we found a 71% reduction in neonatal mortality rate among the most marginalized. In the second, the Johar, Jharkhand, Odisha Health Action Research trials, where the meetings were conducted by the community health workers, the ASHAs, government-appointed community health workers. We found 61% reduction in neonatal mortality rate among the most marginalized. And in the scale-up, which happened by National Health Mission in Jharkhand, we found 26% reduction, which means that the equity is inbuilt in that approach. And coming to our expansion of our work, we have reached almost, using this approach, 80 lakhs women who are participating or participated in such meetings. And for more than 40,000 health workers have been trained to mobilize the community in conducting these meetings. We have partnerships with more than 50 non-governmental organizations where we are the technical support. To give you an example, in Madhya Pradesh, there are NGOs where we supported them and they rolled out the intervention, implemented the intervention. And now we are sitting here, but the PLA meetings are happening in more than 1 million villages in India, in almost 101 districts. And the flags in the map shows where our presence. And we have used this approach for addressing different issues of newborn mortality rate, maternal deaths, mental health. Even during COVID, we had this, just one slide. We were invited by the district administration, West Singhbhum, to conduct certain meetings to address the vaccine hesitancy issues, because there were rumors all around. So we were, in 4 meetings, because this is a structured capacity building approach and it takes time. No, it's effective, but it takes time. But we could see that the community, they understood and they went and took vaccines. Generally, people ask us, so what are the challenges that you face? It's basically the most important challenge which we face is the mindset of the, not only the people we interact, but our funders, our donors, the research community. So, I would like to, highlight on few of the points here. They have that poor solutions for poor people. This is the mindset. But while we design our intervention, we focus on respecting the agency of people. And using methods which build their problem-solving skills, not just messaging. At the end of the meeting, what are the key take-home message that you would like to take? Our funder, while going through the module and all, they would ask. But it's not about messaging. It's about what they feel. When you message it, it's just fixed. But this approach is a flexible approach. and also for addressing, this is a whole lot of problem, and we need to focus on the like intergenerational poverty, not only focusing on poverty and ill health, but intergenerational poverty, which involves early childhood development, creches, like our daycare centers, adolescent health and education. So these are the issues which are very important. Yesterday, one of our speakers was also mentioning about the use of district mineral funds. But now, since 2017, they are now building, like in Keonjhar, a district in Odisha, using the district mineral fund money. They are running almost 783 creches, daycare centers in few of the high burden villages in Keonjhar. And yesterday, Stella was mentioning about the disappearing languages. No, that if you use one language, then there are tendencies, or the tribal communities, those who don't understand the language, they feel deprived. So this is one, I don't know why all the things are not coming. This is one example of this Jharkhand. And almost 83 languages are used while the facilitator communicate in the community. And we have similar for Odisha, Madhya Pradesh. So that language does not become a barrier while interacting with the community. Thank you.
I'm inspired every time I hear about Ekjut's work. If there is any one lesson that we can take, it's about listening and working with communities rather than working for communities. Thank you so much, Suchitra, for doing such an inspiring work and for sharing your insights with us. I would now like to invite Professor Jadumani Mahanan from Jindal Global Law School to help us understand about the issues, not just from a climate and from a health perspective, but actually in terms of identity, in terms of this question about whether community is this one homogeneous identity, or what else are the issues that we sometimes forget to understand. Thank you. Over to you, Jadu.
Thank you, Professor Sneha, for giving me this great opportunity. Also, thank you for organizing this great event. This is such a pleasure to be here, and I attended the last inaugural session. And everywhere, the moment you switch on your social media, whether it is Twitter or Facebook or any other social media, yesterday and today, you are floated with all the dance and the wishes of the indigenous Adivasi communities. So and today's this presentation, I'm going to deliver or going to talk in the memory of one of my friend in GNU. His name is called Abhaya Flavian Khaka. So I happened to meet him several times, though unfortunately, not a deeper friendship, but a political friend, I would say. So I will read his poem. So today presentation, I am going to speak something. I have framed it like identity and the question of recognition in Adivasi politics. So I'm trying to conceptualize through identity and recognition to understand what could be called Adivasi politics. So let me begin with two provocative remarks. You must be knowing that, and let me say my discipline as well. I am from political science and more interested in political theory. So my all question would be around politics. So this is my discipline, so therefore I could articulate in that way. So you must be knowing that the President of India is now coming from the Adivasi community, Draupadi Murmu. She is from Odisha. And very few days back in Madhya Pradesh, an Adivasi young man was urinated by an upper caste right-wing BJP person. We are actually living in a harsh contradiction. On the one hand, we have seen the head of the state belongs to the Adivasi community. On the other hand, we have seen, and we are living in this actually country and this situation for long, where people are taken into granted, whether they would be used, they would be misused, they would be thrown, they would be exploited, and so on and so forth. And those are no other than Adivasi and Dalit communities. I would also say women in general. So these are two provocative things to actually think about the contradiction that we are living in our 78 and closing to, we are close to 8 years, 8 decades of Indian democracy, and going to also celebrate next week, August 15th, the Independence Day. So in this context, I would like to read the poem written by our brother Abhaya Flavian Khaka. This title called I Am Not Your Data. He begins with, I am not your data, nor I am your vote bank. I am not your project or any exotic museum object. I am not the soul waiting to be harvested, nor I am the lab where your theories are tested. I am not your cannon fodder or the invisible worker or your entertainment at India Habitat Center. I am not your field, your crowd, your history, your help, your guilt, medallions of your victory. I refuse, reject, resist your levels, your judgment, documents, definition, your model, leaders, and patrons, because they deny me my existence, my vision, my space. Your words, map, figures, indicators, they all create illusions and put you on a pedestal from where you look down upon me. So I draw my own picture and invent my own grammar. I make my own tools to fight my own battle. For me, my people, my world, and my Adivasi self. It is by Abhaya Flavian Khaka. So since I'm working in the area of identity and recognition, this actually explains so much to unpack the question of identity. So let me begin with this few question, and this presentation is going to be around question and question and question. So for example, to begin with, who is an Adivasi? What is their identity? What they represent? What is their food habit? What dress they love to wear? Where they live? How they live? Do Adivasi have homogeneous community? What language they speak? What is their survival question? These are few questions, few political and philosophical questions to comprehend the question of identity, recognition, and Adivasi politics. Also, this question help us to understand they are one of the long slogan, I would call metaphor, Jal, Jungle, and Jamin, that could capture the identity and their politics. So the identification of an Adivasi around this metaphor also help us to ask what is their belief system, what they worship, what is their cultural practices. So in the very beginning, our presenter Sumitra said something very, very important. They begin with something called worshipping Prakritik Puja. So I'll come to very, very harsh contradiction that we are living today. So therefore, one of my submission would be one need to also go beyond this metaphor, land, forest, and water, and talk about representation, demanding representation, their share in democracy. If I have to give an example in the academic sphere, it is again very, very worse situation. What is the representation of Adivasi in all the discipline that we teach and study? We can begin from our own university. So similarly, we can go to any public university or the bureaucracy or any of the institution. However, we have something called representation in democracy. But again, the contradiction that I made in the very first, it is on the one hand we have the president of the state, but what is happening to the rest of the democratic institution that we have? So so these are few questions that I wanted to begin and problematize it. So in 2019, during the pandemic time, the Chief Minister of Jharkhand, Hemant Soren, in 18th annual India conference at Harvard University, what he said: Adivasis were never Hindu, they were never will be Hindu. But very unfortunately, if we have to look at last, maybe 70 years of democratic practices in India, it is a very, very unfortunate affair that this claim, and this claim is coming from an Adivasi chief minister from Jharkhand, but the contrasting picture is this: there is also a rampant Hinduization as far as the Adivasi identity is concerned. So therefore, we have also reached to a point that further, explaining, further, substantiating this, statement by Hemant Soren, he further goes on to say that there are 32 tribal community in our state, but in Jharkhand we have not been able to promote our language, culture. So this is, half statement by him. So, and this is not a state of affair in Jharkhand, but also in Chhattisgarh, in Jharkhand, and Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and part of Madhya Pradesh. Also, one can go back to now, what's happening in the hills area of India, northeast region. So in the northeast region, we have also seen the, rampant violence between two communities. And one need to also, contextualize and try to problematize that how the Hinduization taking place in this, region of northeast. So therefore, to argue that when you think about the question of identity, question of recognition, how therefore one can understand the politics of Adivasi, right? Politics of Adivasi, on the one hand, we have seen the resistance and struggle in this part of region where people are in the name of development. We have seen that they are being exploited, they are being thrown out. So on the other hand, we have seen that there is a continuous process to make them a Hindu and so on. So we have also seen that how people belongs to the Adivasis community, they don't like to be part of this, the grand narrative called Hindutva and so on. So therefore, the another point that Hemant Soren at that point of time made, which is also very, very relevant to our political dispensation today. He says this: though Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism dealt under Hindu personal law, it is not so in the case of tribals. Now it is in the context of UCC, right? So therefore, how it is possible to homogenize everything in the planet of so-called Hindu. This is when we think about Adivasi politics, it is only Adivasi politics, Dalit politics, women politics would have this radical in a vantage point to, democratize the society, not through, something, homogenization, taking place in the name of, different religious identity. So therefore, it is also, as we are very much part of a law university, and it is also a matter of interest for the law student to intervene and think about this question, that how it is possible to even understand the UCC in a very homogeneous way, right? So therefore, this is a question of identity and question of recognition, correct? So. So now there are so many research are being done. I need not to refer any of them, but to substantiate this, in the state of Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Madhya Pradesh, if you really like to do an empirical study, so the empirical study explain that how the Adivasi people, they supposed to claim themselves as Adivasi and proud of that, but it is very, very sad affairs. They they even forget their own identity to call themselves as Adivasi. Take example of any, filling any bureaucratic form, or, if someone is applying for any job or anything, related to the government, even we have forgotten to put a column called, Adivasi. So it is, something to do with the something called religion, that is called Hinduism. So therefore, how one can, think about in this context, politics of Adivasi. And to me, politics of Adivasi to be, through question of identity and question of recognition. So coming to the recognition part in this context, I need not to go to, talk about the theoretical, philosopher who have talked about this, but to contextualize in the context of Adivasi. So whether it is question of language, it is question of food habit, it is question of culture, it is question of dress. All this, indicator that I made, it's somewhere, associated with the being an Adivasi person, right? I mean, person who call themselves as Adivasi, or to be proud of an Adivasi. So, and when they call it, they actually feel sense of, pride, sense of, respect and dignity, correct? These are also very, very essential human need. I mean, it is not only the, the development, it is not only, about the question of survival of, everyday food and, everyday material need. At the same time, how one is being treated in the, so-called the democratic state. And there are movie after movie that how, Adivasi are being, portrayed. When they try to protest against the state, they are called as Maoist and the Naxal. When they try to, assert themselves, their assertion somewhere, now it is, it is somewhere, problematized. It is somewhere, looked upon through in different angles. So therefore, so when they, assert themselves as, Adivasi and try to, say that, as I said, Maoist or, Naxalite. So on the other hand, if you go to, this region that I say, central part of India, so in the many places, they have lost their, livelihood. There is a question of displacement, throughout this region. So, so now the state of affair is something that, it is state versus the communities, right? So if state want to be, recognized as themselves as Adivasi, on the other hand, they also question the survival, the material question. The material question is thrown at them that we will, give you some sense of some kind of, replacement and some kind of, some kind of, material benefit to them. But this is just a blunder when you, try to understand this, contradiction that we see in the in the state of affair. So on the other hand, when we try to look at their own cultural practices, take example of, food habit for that matter, or dress for that matter. What we come to know, there is also something, very, very problematic thing happening. It is called, uh, uh, how one can look at through the production of knowledge and the production of, how the knowledge has been, produced out of that. Let me, put it in very simple way. So whether it is, food or the, dresses and what they believe, uh, it is kind of, today, if I have to, make this provocative point, as to it has been Brahminized today, completely Brahminized. So when we think about the question of, decolonization, so decolonization is a so fancy term these days, and how one can decolonize, the street, how one can decolonize the dress. So similarly, how one can decolonize the culture itself that has been imposed. Correct. So therefore, the knowledge that we think about, then what Abhaya Khaka has said, that I'm not your data, and how this, question of representation been represented, whether in the academics, whether in the knowledge production, or whether in the politics. Correct. Do the autonomous voices speak what they really represent? Right. So therefore, thinking about decolonization today, and always we go back to, West and the Britishers, the way they have ruled, and the terminology they have used, and now this is a common, general vocabulary for everyone to use this. One need to definitely critique and definitely, reject this term given by the, the colonizer. At the same time, one need not to forget the colonizer in the society. They are also, trying to colonize in the certain, certain way in terms of culture and food and so on and so forth. So point is this: when we are so much, talking about, food or dress or any of the thing, where not the Adivasi food, where not the, Adivasi dress being globalized, and, being proud of, all these dresses and food. I happened to be in Kalahandi last month, speaking to University of Kalahandi. So, and when we went to a hill area to, speak, to, visit. And the hill area, we do not, and the local people, probably Adivasi Dalits people, we didn't get the food what they actually eat and cook, and they are good at. But what we got, we got noodles. We got some other food. Okay. So point what I'm trying to make is the question of, identity, what they really represent, what they really constitute, that need to be explored and expand and, and understood. And that would actually take us to think about what could be, Adivasi politics. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Jadumani. I think speaking the hard truth about the hegemony of a majority culture and imposition of not only language and traditions, but also language in various forms across the state is a concerning issue, and I think it's important to address it in the larger context of identity politics. I want to just read out the beginning of a poem that also deeply inspires me, by Natalie Diaz, in the context of indigenous communities in America. She says, Native Americans make up less than 1% of the population of America, 0.8% of 100%. Oh, mine efficient country. And as we designed with the help of other schools, this entire program, we made a conscious choice about focusing on the complexities within India in a way that we discuss these different elements within the diversity that we face in India and the political issues as well. So I deeply appreciate, Jadu, for you to bring these issues to the crowd. Before I open up for questions, I would like to say if the panel would have questions for each other. Um, Suchitra, Sumitra, Jadu, for each other if you have any questions. Okay, I will take two more liberties. One is that we are running out of time, so we will have. We were supposed to break for tea, but since we are the organizers, I can decide that we are going to have tea inside. So we'll continue with the Q&A and maybe have a delayed start by 10 minutes for the next panel, and have questions for our speakers from the first panel now. So I'll take 3 questions and then have the panelists respond, and then if we have time, a couple more. So, yes, you need a mic.
Good morning, everyone.
Please introduce yourself and say whom do you want to ask the question.
I'm Dr. Alok Bhoi from Kalahandi, Odisha, and I'm pursuing Master in Public Health here at Jindal School of Public Health and Human Development. My question to Suchitra ma'am. Ma'am, in this budget, Government of India introduced National PVTG Mission. 5 years back, Government of Odisha introduced Odisha PVTG Empowerment Livelihood Improvement Program. So under that program, in Kalahandi district, the Dongoria Kanda, one of the PVTG of state among 13 PVTG of Odisha, they are producing strawberry, and Odisha and Kalahandi the largest producing in fish in the country. So like PVTG mission are really helpful in that area for the development of tribes, or it need more emphasis on improving their livelihood and especially nutrition and their economic growth. Yeah. Question is, yeah, do you need more emphasis, or this mission like livelihood and empowerment for their improvement of health and nutrition and their economic growth? What are the other opportunities, or these are the area? Yeah.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Vandana, and I'm an assistant professor in the Jindal Global Business School. Sorry. And I'm very happy to be part of this session. My PhD work was on malnutrition in Adivasi communities, and my approach was to look at the political ecology side of malnutrition, and my work was in the Nyamgiri area, Raigada, Mudigada district, basically, and I did have the pleasure to talk to Dr. Tripathi once when I was like a doctoral student, just starting to explore my field area. So I'm aware of Ekjut's work. I'm really happy that, Professor Sneha has organized such a thing, and you are one of the guests. What I wanted to, also, one of the questions, and as you mentioned, that one of the major interventions to bring down the neonatal mortality rate is the focus on nutrition, right? So it would be great for the audience to actually hear from you if there is an alternative understanding of nutrition which does overlap with traditional practices of agriculture in areas. And probably in your interventions and your interaction with the community, you must have come across these practices. And how have you included that in the participatory? Giving them or focusing on their agency is also means a lot about giving space to their knowledge systems about food, nutrition, forest, and a lot is changing because of the forest policies, and I'm sure also in the state of Jharkhand, right? So if you could just, share some stories based on your experience regarding that area. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, especially the poem that has been read out by you. I think that really captured the spirit of the indigenous people, and that was really great. No, not now. Up here. Okay. Definitely, I would say we really need to decolonize our mindset, and we need to change the lens also. Otherwise, with a very honest intention, we ended up having a kind of converting process. like here in India, we might say, converting into, Brahmanizing, or, there would be different things to say it. So it's really important that, like we decolonize our mindset and free our mindset. And another one is I fully agree with indigenous people identity. This identity issue has been, it's one of the greatest issue because it's about our life, land, language, and livelihood. So I use this for L because it's really easy to remember. For this identity, the struggle has been to be politically recognized, but it has been politically rejected. So that is one of the issue. And another one is, like the question of, the extinction of human civilizations, the wisdom, cosmovision, language, which indigenous people have. It's in such a high speed that, we are losing it. For example, the language and things. So, like, as an indigenous, what I would have loved to see is, what do I want to see my growth? How do I want to see my growth? I would have wished an academic institution where indigenous knowledge, wisdom, skills are systematically studied, and then, and indigenous people and others can deepen that understanding. There I would see, there is a growth. So that is one thing that I thought, I would like to bring that up. And another one is, I don't know, I see that, possible in Jindal University. Can we have a faculty on indigenous people studies? Not from the other side, but even indigenous people can really come. Doesn't matter, this person might not have the PhD degree to be qualified as a lecturer, things, but we need to make a break. We need to break the change because there is so much need to have a shift. Where is that shift going to happen? Unless we don't have the shift, I think things will not happen. So as an indigenous, that is what I would like to, wish to see it, because I really want to see myself growing to become myself. I don't want to grow to become like others. No one would like to grow like others. So this is my concern. And another one is, I'm a bit critical, and I'm really sorry, because this empowerment, I like the word, but I have some reservation on the process. And the same is with the word intervention. When we are intervening within our family, if we are doing something, can that be called as intervention? And when intervention would be from outside, like from Europe, from America, but within the family, being an Indian, doing something for Indian, me Nepali, doing something for Nepali people. I don't know whether this word intervention, this is still, these are the things, which says that, we need to change our mindset because we are captured with that. Thank you.
I will. Hi. Switch on that.
मेरे पास दो सवाल हैं मैंने दोनों स्पीकर से। मैं झारखंड से हूँ। एक तो मैम से एकजुट के बारे में। एकजुट झारखंड के किस किस जिला में काम करता है और झारखंड में कौन हेड है, ये एकजुट से। और जो आदिवासी पॉलिटिक्स, ऐसे मेरा जानना चाहते हैं, झारखंड में, छत्तीसगढ़ में, उड़ीसा में आदिवासी पॉलिटिक्स में लैंड इशूज कभी पॉलिटिकल इशूज नहीं बना, क्यों? डिस्प्लेसमेंट का इशूज कभी भी आदिवासी पॉलिटिक्स का इशूज नहीं बना, क्यों? लैंड ग्रैबिंग, ये छत्तीसगढ़ में, झारखंड में, उड़ीसा में जो आदिवासी बहुल स्टेट हैं, जमीन दिन रात आदिवासियों के हाथ से निकल रहा है, चाहे जिस भी कारण से, लेकिन लैंड ग्रैबिंग का इशू पॉलिटिकल इशूज क्यों नहीं बना? नंबर 4, जब हम मार्जिनलाइज की बात करते हैं, तो जब हम लैंड इशूज पर बात नहीं करेंगे, लैंड ग्रैबिंग पर बात नहीं करेंगे, इशूज मेरा नहीं बनेगा। डेवलपमेंट, डिस्ट्रक्शन, डिस्प्लेसमेंट, ये पॉलिटिकल इशूज नहीं बनेगा। तो स्वाभाविक है कि तीनों राज्य से आदिवासी लाखों लाख की संख्या में माइग्रेट कर रहे हैं, लेकिन आज तक इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स में माइग्रेशन, आदिवासियों का माइग्रेशन भी इशू क्यों नहीं बना?
So, do you want to start?
So thank you so much.
एक मिनट, हम लोग आदिवासी हैं, जल जंगल जमीन की बात करते हैं और इंडिजिनस इश्यूज पर बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हम लोग यहीं पर मार्जिनलाइज हैं कि हम लोग अंग्रेजी नहीं जानते हैं, पढ़े हैं, अंग्रेजी नहीं जाने, आप लोगों ने हम लोगों को नहीं सिखलाया।
Let me speak in Hindi then. So,
आप अंग्रेजी से ही बोलिए ताकि बाकी लोग समझेंगे।
ठीक। Okay, so whatever question are been asked, that question itself, that I need not to explain anything on this. This question should be, should be discussed in the seminar, not only in the seminar, but in our classroom and in Indian politics. And this question is a question coming from the people who are, on the ground, who are facing everyday, problem, whether it is question of displacement, whether it is question of land grabbing, or it is, question of, state-based violence. So therefore, the questions he had asked, very, very sad to say that we do not have any kind of, political language in the contemporary time that could, politicize the Adivasi issue. So in that context, I would definitely, put in my own way to say that what is the, status and what is the position or status of the Adivasi politics in the contemporary India. How many political parties made by Adivasi themselves to, speak about their problem. So therefore, Abhay Khaka's, poem again, think us to question the Indian politics from the vantage point of Adivasi, because I am not your data, I am not in your politics. So therefore, whenever Adivasis are part of any other political parties, so they are being appropriated. It is not only Adivasi, it is also Dalits and many other marginalized community, how their voices are being appropriated. So therefore, one need to understand the politics of appropriation, politics of Hinduization, and politics of, many other, problem that actually rely. So in that context, I would rather, see rather I would like to see the autonomy, the autonomous politics of Adivasi. It may take, years to come, but definitely it would actually give a voice. Why I'm saying this, Adivasi, even not in a, Adivasi politics is even not in a, position to become, bargain with the dominant political parties, whether in the national level or in the state level. So therefore, however, we have, chief minister in Jharkhand now, but we have seen that how, how in the last Jharkhand election, how things were happened, and how he could able to, occupy or, able to have this position. So therefore, I would rather say that there is a need of autonomous Adivasi politics. At the same time, Adivasi also need to think about have a greater alliance with the other marginalized politics, probably the region that you have mentioned, Jharkhand, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. So this is an Adivasi belt where there could be a strong articulation of Adivasi politics in the national scenario, but it is not happening. I do not have any substantive answer to this question. Even in fact, I would like to raise this question to understand that where this is not happening. So therefore, my limited understanding somewhere lies because we do not have a vibrant Adivasi politics at the moment in the national level or even in the state level. So I come from Odisha, so I have seen that in Odisha what is happening, it is 24% of Adivasi, but there is no Adivasi voice or political pressure in the state. So therefore, we have seen that there is no question of land, there is no question of displacement, there is no question of any other program related to Adivasi. So therefore, we all need to think about the autonomous politics of the Adivasi. The other point, which is also very, very important point to think about, question of identity, question of knowledge, and where a person would actually think about themselves and flourish and articulate themselves, and they would actually feel good about themselves when they are being recognized, when they are being acknowledged with respect and dignity. So in that context only one can actually grow and flourish. Otherwise, this way of the way it has been Hinduized, I am using this word in a very, very I'm giving so much emphasis to this because at this point of time, I have no other political language to articulate this than thinking about identity. So thinking about an Adivasi identity, to say that a Adivasi would be dignified and Adivasi would be recognized and respected when he or she or they live themselves with those identity and and those identity are being respected, which is not the case. So therefore, I completely even agree with this point that the question of identity is so deeply related to one life and how they live and how they should live. And the question of migration and Adivasi, these are a big question, and where Adivasis are migrating to other places, we need. This is also a political question. This is not merely a kind of bringing some data and justifying our argument. I would not agree on that. Rather, these are very, very political question, and this political question need to be dealt politically. So the last point that I would like to make here is question related to the knowledge production and thinking about the indigenous studies in places like Jindal or any other university. So this is a very, very positive and strong proposal to think about indigenous studies or Adivasi studies in every university, by which there would be a scope to study. So in this context, I would also raise a question in a different way, saying that whenever we frame our syllabus, whenever we frame our curriculum and course manual, where the question of identity lies, right? What are the reading that are being given to the student to understand Adivasi politics and Adivasi life? It is very, again, matter of very sad affair. Abhi tak hua nahi ho. So therefore, whenever we are studying anything on the knowledge production of Adivasi, we go back to Western. Where should we go back to Western, right? So therefore, the question is, I would really like to say something very important. So there was a dialogue happening between Ambedkar and Jaipal Singh Munda in 1950 somewhere. So the conversation was very interesting on the question of education and question of agency. So Ambedkar proposed that, why don't you send some of your students to study in abroad and come back? So to just give an example of Dalit politics of last 200 years. So there has been a question of education for them to articulate and them to question the very hegemony and establishment of knowledge production. Similar thing has to be happen when we think about Adivasi politics in terms of knowledge production, in terms of theorizing their life, in terms of politicizing, in terms of writing, and so on and so forth. So therefore, education, we need to take it seriously to challenge the knowledge production, and the knowledge is being produced, and that knowledge is not really representing the question of Adivasi. So therefore, I would say this is a very minimum way to look at the question of Adivasi in the coming year, to think about themselves and raise question to Indian politics, Indian academia, and Indian intellectual circle.
Thank you, Jadu. Over to Suchitra. I think there were 3 questions.
Maybe I'll start with the last question. You asked about who is the head of Ekjut. So she's Dr. Nirmala Nair. She's located in Chakradharpur, Vesingbhum district. It's a small railway town in Vesingbhum district or Jharkhand. And we work across 24 districts in Jharkhand, but with help from National Health Mission using their NHM appointed ASHA, the accredited social health activist, no, who are known as Sahyas and Sahya Sathi, the ASHA facilitators in Jharkhand. And yeah, coming to the first question about the PVTG's, the laws and the guidelines that are from the, it's during the last slide I said the challenge which we face is the change in mindset. While we are developing the laws, the guidelines, the principles for the community, do we have enough representation from the community? What do they want? If they want strawberry to get cultivated, then fine. But when we heard about, even in Vesingbhum district, there are villages, those who are opting for strawberry cultivation, and they are getting many benefits from that. But the problem is the traditional cropping patterns is diminishing. So how what is that balance which we need? Is the emphasis which we need to focus. And planning, planning में ज़रूरत है कि उनका representation भी हो, उनका भी हो, but there are certain schemes which are for the, like while we were working in Jharkhand designing a module with help from the ASHAs and ASHA workers, during the ASHA trainings earlier when the NHM were providing, so the PVTG, the ASHA belonging to the PVTG communities, they were the backbenchers, and because they didn't understand the language. But when the intervention, Stella had this question, you feel awkward about this word intervention. So maybe we can have a, different. Like while working also, this beneficiaries, we don't, and now we are terming them as participants, target, beneficiaries, soft targets. So doing away with those words and using participants. So maybe we will definitely for the intervention. So what is the other word, the alternative which we could use? So for the PVTG community, while this the module was entirely developed pictorially, while for the rest of the community it was written and pictures, but the entire pictorial module was developed from the PVTG community so that the trainings are easier. And this is not a one-day affair. It took us almost 1.5 years where we visited the PVTG community, sat with them, what are the things that they would like to discuss, what are the methods that they would like to use. So it was all possible by the NHM itself. Because when you sensitize the officials and the buy-in is from their side, then changes are tend to happen. And malnutrition related question we can discuss later, and I have few publications for you where you can go through, and so it's nutrition and the underlying determinants is also important.
Sorry, I think I will park that question for discussion.
But discuss during lunch.
I also want to have Sumitra Di speak. दीदी आप अगर कोई सवालों का जवाब देना चाहेंगे, सवाल थे फॉरेस्ट के ऊपर, दयामणि दीदी के सवाल थे, आपको कुछ फाइनल रिमार्क्स देने हैं? दीदी का सवाल आपने सुना हिंदी में कि हाँ दीदी ने दे दिया, बट जो लार्जर क्वेश्चन था कि डिस्प्लेसमेंट के इश्यूज़, माइग्रेशन के इश्यूज़ नहीं आ रहे, उस तरह के इश्यूज़ के ऊपर लेके फिर स्टेला के कमेंट्स थे कि इंटरवेंशन, ये शब्द से आप इंटरवेंशन जो हम यूज़ करते हैं उसके क्या मायने होते हैं, लोगों को वो शब्द का क्या मतलब समझ में आता है। उनका भी यही सवाल था कि ट्रेडिशनल प्रैक्टिसेस जो है गांव में, जब हम न्यूट्रिशन की बात करते हैं तो वो लोग किस तरह से समझते हैं, क्योंकि हम तो स्कॉलरली बातें करते हैं ना, न्यूट्रिशन की बात करेंगे तो हम मतलब यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में, तो गांव में उसका क्या मतलब है, और वो लोग करते आ रहे हैं और जो नया सीख रहे हैं उसको कैसे वो लोग समझ में लाते हैं, ये समझाइए। आपको फाइनल जो कंक्लूड करना है। ऑन कर,
ऑन है।
हाँ ऑन है।
हम शुरू कहाँ से करेंगे सोच रहे हैं। ये हमारा जो समुदाय में हम लोग काम करते हैं वहाँ पर आदिवासी समुदाय के साथ में उनका रहन सहन, उनका रीति रिवाज, ये जो परंपराएं हैं उनका हमको सम्मान देना होता है। वो लोग क्या चाहते हैं, उनकी भाषा है, उनका पहनावा है, जब तक हम उनके साथ में जुड़ेंगे नहीं तो वो लोग भी हमारे बातों को नहीं अपनाएंगे। और हमारा बहुत अच्छा से ट्रेनिंग होता है और एक रोल प्ले होता है जिसमें हम अपना भी समझ बनाते हैं कि उनके साथ में हम कैसे व्यवहार करें। तो इसमें सहायकर्ता और टीचर का रोल होता है, जिससे हम भी किस तरह से उनके साथ में बातचीत करेंगे। हम लोग ज़्यादातर ये सोचते हैं कि पढ़ लिख गए हैं तो हमें बहुत जानकारी है, और उनका ये सब है बहुत ख़राब है, ऐसे नहीं करके हम लोग उनको इस तरह से भी कह सकते हैं कि हम लोग के व्यवहार में अगर बहुत सारे ऐसे चीज़ें हैं, जैसे बहुत अच्छी चीज़ें भी हमारा समुदाय में है कि खुद से शादी करना, खुद का पसंद से शादी करना, और लड़के पक्ष को लड़कियों के द्वारा लड़के पक्ष लड़कियों को दहेज के रूप में जो गोनोंग देते हैं उनका भी है। तो ऐसे नहीं कि हमारे जैसे बेटी बड़ी हो गई है तो उनको शादी देना, उनके बारे में चिंता, ऐसे उतना नहीं है हमारे समुदाय में। तो ये भी है, कुछ रीति रिवाज में है कि कम उम्र में शादी हो जाता है। तो हम ये नहीं कहते हैं कि उनको समझ नहीं है, वो कम उम्र में शादी कर लिए। ये बात को रखने के लिए किस तरह से हम सहजता से बात को रखते हैं, एक छोटा बच्चा के जैसे है हमारा समुदाय, कि हम बच्चे को उठो बैठो गाली गलौज करके पटकरा के उनको बताते हैं, तो ऐसे में लोग नहीं अपनाएंगे बात को। तो बहुत तरीक़ा से कि हमारे ये है तो हम कहानी के माध्यम से, जैसे हमारा पीएबले प्रक्रिया जो है सहभागी सीख और क्रियान्वयन में कहानी के द्वारा से कुछ रीति रिवाज को अगर में परिवर्तन लाना है तो उनको हम लोग डालते हैं कि उनके प्रभाव क्या होते हैं, उनका नुकसान क्या होगा। तो ये इसको डालते हुए हम लोग वहाँ पर रखते हैं अपनी बातों को। तो समस्या भी वो लोग खुद से ही चुनाव करते हैं और समाधान भी उन्हीं के द्वारा निकलता है। हम इसमें नहीं कहते कि आप ये करो वो करो, हम टीचर का कभी रोल नहीं करते हैं।
with that, I would like to close this panel. Thank you, everyone, for being so interactive. I would like to felicitate, please, Professor Marks, if you would do the honors. Thank you so much. Thank you, Suchitra. Thank you, Sumitra.
Thank you.